A poem so filled with defamiliarization and disillusionment that I'm left asking myself, did I just read Sylvia Plath? But that is not the case. We are here to talk about Anne Sexton. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for another poetry discussion, which will appear, of course, in the poetry discussion playlist, now careening towards 750 poetry videos strong. Today we are discussing Elegy in the Classroom by Anne Sexton as requested by PF. So if you have any poems you want to see me talk about on this channel, leave them in the comment section below, and if I can get to it, I will get to it. But Elegy in the Classroom reads as such. In the thin classroom where your face was noble and your words were all things, I find this boily creature in your place. Find you disarranged, squatting on the windowsill, irrefutably placed up there, like a hunk of some big frog, watching us through the V of your woolen legs. Even so, I must admire your skill. You are so gracefully insane. We fidget in our plain chairs and pretend to catalog our facts for your burly sorcery, or ignore your fat blind eyes, or the prince you ate yesterday, who was wise, wise, wise. There's a lot of stuff going on in this poem that is perhaps difficult to classify, but I think we have to recognize first in the title the word elegy. The word elegy is normally reserved for death, mourning death, observing death, poems about the observation of death, reflections on death. The teacher here clearly has not died, clearly is still alive, but there is some other form of disillusionment involved here. Well, there's one weird thing that kind of sticks out on a thematic level. Perhaps we can dig a little deeper here. We mention the professor, the teacher, whatever it is, whoever it is, whatever level we're talking about here, as a frog. Frogs, in the literary sense, sometimes mentioned in correlation with a prince. But we are not talking about a prince turned into a frog. We are talking about a frog eating a prince who was wise, wise, wise. This is a bit of defamiliarization here. But the entire poem is defamiliarization. Perhaps the defamiliarization of the frog prince dichotomy? Would dichotomy be the right term when it's really the frog is the prince is the frog dynamic? The frog prince dynamic. The defamiliarization of the frog prince dynamic is something closer to disillusionment, because that frog is not the prince inside. It's just a frog. That frog is the frog that it is. But it hasn't always been the frog. It hasn't always been some boily thing. It was once a noble face whose words were all things. This is a very strange thing happening in this poem. But I do think we have some clues as to what is going on. So we have the fact that the frog is not the prince. The frog is not the prince. The frog is not that thing which is romantic. I find this boily creature in your place. The students once loved this professor, but our speaker says, I find this boily thing in your place. Now, the speaker does not say, we find this boily thing in your place. Notice that the speaker is different than the we listed later. The speaker is separate. The speaker is singular. The speaker is isolated, at least in some ways. Okay, so the speaker is isolated in some ways from the group observing the professor who was once revered by the speaker. But that place where the speaker separates from the we is that spot of disillusionment. And we have some other things going on. I find you disarranged, squatting on the windowsill, irrefutably placed up there like a hunk of some big frog, watching us through the V in your woolen legs. Woolen legs suggests that the professor is masculine. These are wool pants or very hairy legs. The V in your woolen legs. This is not overtly a sexual reference, but it's really kind of a weird one, isn't it? It's really kind of a strange way to watch people through the V of their legs. It does suggest something. It is sexually suggestive. If it is not sexually overt, it is sexually suggestive. Okay, so we have that now to sort of add to the list of those things that are going on. There is some type of sexual charge to the way that the students are being watched. Even so, I must admire your skill. You are so gracefully insane. We fidget in our plain chairs and pretend to catalog. Why would these students be pretending to catalog? What is the suggestion behind fidgeting in the chairs? Is this another reference to something which is sexually charged? You know, the fidget you get when there's someone attractive around. And why are they pretending to catalog instead of actually doing their work? They're not paying attention to the professor or the teacher for his or her lesson, for his lessons, I think his lessons. They're paying attention to the teacher for the teacher's attention. Now, what are they pretending to do? We are pretending to catalog our facts for your burly sorcery. What is burly sorcery if not, like, the only thing that I can actually read into that is animal magnetism, burly sorcery. These ideas, these terms seem to me to be at least a little bit related. Animal magnetism and burly sorcery. That's the only thing I can get from that. So here's what I think is going on here. There is a teacher, a professor, that is getting the wrong type of attention from his students. One of them has turned on him. One of them is no longer interested in him. Why that is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we have the tools in this poem to figure it out other than the prince which has been consumed, who was wise, wise, wise. I don't know the deeper meaning to this poem. I do know that the actions of defamiliarization in this poem are extreme. You can definitely take notes from this as a poet. You can definitely take notes from this as a writer. But as for what it is that is the deeper message, right, to this poem, I don't know. And again, in that way, it kind of reminds me of Sylvia Plath. Sylvia Plath is an author that I enjoy, but oftentimes I come away from Sylvia Plath's poetry simply with an emotional charge as opposed to a deeper understanding of something. That is what I have for this poem. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. There's poetry every Monday, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.